Big 14, you know what the fuck going on. Hey, hold up, take a moment, count my guap, count my guap. All these rags bumming in, they bumming in, hold up. Hey, count my guap, count my guap. Can I stop coming in, coming in? Put up in a drop top, she dropped it. I put up in a drop top, she dropped it. My diamonds dancing high skies, they hold this. My diamonds dancing high skies, they hold this. Yeah, hold up. I don't know what planet I'm on. I'm a king, little bitch, watch the throne. Feel like bottom, I'll top off your arm. Yeah, steady, cause it heavy. Yeah, bitch, I'm ballin' hard just like a maverick. Money stretch long, little bitch like elastic. Now that bitch steady calling me Mr. Fantastic. Yeah. No, I keep a ratchet. If you play, boy, I turn your ass to ashes. Automatic, doom, 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 little bitch, I'm blasting. Yeah, put you in a casket. Money sits long, it's elastic. I don't know what planet I'm on. I'm a king, little bitch, watch the throne. I feel like Bardo, I'll chop off your arm. Take a moment, count my guap, count my guap. All these rags bumming in, they bumming in. Hey, count my guap, count my guap. Can I stop coming in, coming in? Put up in a drop top, she dropped it. I put up in a drop top, she dropped it. My diamonds dancing high skies, they hold this. My diamonds dancing high skies. Yeah.
Astral worlds, my planet, my home. Clouds too high, the fumes too strong. Mix this cup for way too long. Add it up, don't subtract it. Yeah. Pour this egg with me and let's get blasted. Straight up, Lambo drop like a dragon. Can't fall asleep at night cause they attacking. In the coupe go insane. This if it go, they be blame. We don't live the same.
But Rodgers is a fucking fossil. This team's in shambles. The Steelers are a wagon at home. It's going to be a gross fucking game. And I'm going right back to fading the Jets.
And once again, the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan, when the lights are bright, do not show up, and they fold. Their receivers are banged up. The ones out there couldn't catch shit. Their defense is taking a step back. This 49ers team is a fucking joke, and I'm looking at you, Kyle Shanahan. You're supposed to be that guy.
In the postseason for the first time in his career, and they find a way to fucking blow it. Look, we should have known the Yankees bullpen was going to come back and bite them in the ass at some point. They've been a little bit too good, but my goodness, did we think it was going to be Big Christmas?
What's going on, chat? Happy BTL Friday, episode 598 piece. As always, hold the fry, joined by your two hosts, Krabs and Jovan, presented by Picket Sports. If you haven't checked out your Picket Wrapped yet, now is the time. Okay, I think that got fired up yesterday. Go check out your Picket Wrapped over there on Picket Pro. And even if you haven't used Picket yet, you could download Picket Pro or Pickets, and you could sync up your books, all your bets for the past year, and you could still get your Picket Wrapped. Go check out your Picket Wrapped on Picket. Free, easy to use. If you're not using Picket already to track your bets, what are you doing? All right, start today. Start for the weekends. All right, get your football plays over there, all tracked and logged on Picket. Jovan, happy Friday. How we doing?
Fantastic. Ready to talk about some weekend. We got conference championships here tonight, Krabs.
We got a lot to go over today, man. We got a lot to go over. Before we get into it and start talking about some college football, why don't we go over the recap from yesterday? How about Penn State? Shout out Chelly. W play. Hope you guys tailed responsibly. That's how you get back on track. W play, W squad rides, W Penn State. The system.
Love that.
Fading.
Love that.
Yeah, fading ranked teams when they're underdogs on the road. It's been working. Let's keep doing it responsibly. Okay, great play yesterday. Great job voting for the right play for the squad ride. Early W. A rare no sweater. Those don't come around often, folks. Enjoy. Okay, W play. Hope you guys tailed. Shout out to Jen for coming in with a party of 30. To Jen,
Let's
hope
go.
you have a great weekend, my man. Happy Friday. Let me know what you're nuking today or for the weekend. Let me know what your POD is. All right. Can we have a conversation about Dan Campbell's play calling that'll probably cost them the playoffs again? I was going to wait for this, but that's actually perfect timing after reading that chat, Jovan. Might have to pivot here. You know what? Let's talk about that for 1 second here, because that might have been the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I want someone to tell me that I'm wrong in chat, or Jovan, you could tell me if I'm wrong, but was that not the stupidest thing ever? Going for it on 4th and 1 last night at the end of the game to kick a field goal that's 4 yards shorter? The risk.
So.
You don't think so? Okay. I'm curious to hear that angle, but is a 4-yard kick really the difference? Does the reward outweigh the risk in that spot after you've already gone for it on 4th down and not getting it in that game? I don't think it does. I don't think the reward outweighs the risk of gaining 5 yards.
It wasn't for the field goal, so the Packers wouldn't get the ball back.
You think it was to milk some more clock?
Yeah, because they would have gotten the ball back with what was it, 40, 50 seconds left or somewhere around there, and they would have had time to certainly get into field goal range. I would gladly take my chances in that, especially if you're the 11-1 Lions. Not that you don't want to put yourself at risk to lose the game, but your whole MO is being more physical than the next team. You got one of the best 1-2 punches and running backs in the league, and obviously you're going to use your short yardage guy in Diamont. He makes some weird calls at times, like going for it on your own 30. I would have much more of a problem with that 4th down play call they didn't get because he tossed the ball back 8 yards when you needed half a yard. But that one I think was fine.
I respectfully disagree. I guess you'd be a little bit more of an aggressive coach than me. You'd be a little bit more like Dan Campbell and their elite OC, Ben Johnson, who, in my opinion, you'd take Jared Goff away from that team and that OC. Probably not as good. And I do think this aggressive play calling will eventually bite this team in the ass. But, Jovan, it worked out well. And you're saying if it was to milk the clock, that makes a whole lot more sense than just getting a couple yards, right? Or moving it to the left side of the field, left hash, to get a better kick. That makes a little more sense. I still kind of disagree, but I get what you're saying.
You were down in the game, I think you kick, but being that it was tied and you would have given the Packers the ball back with a chance to get in field goal range, don't hate that call at all.
And how that game was trending with points in the second half. Yeah. Look, you give Jordan Love 45 seconds, wouldn't be shocked if they get in field goal range. I get it. Would I have made that call? No, I would have kicked the field goal, but it worked out. All right. What does chat think about that? I didn't see what they were saying.
Kind of in between, I guess.
Kind of in between.
Some dubs, some L's.
Maybe we got some more aggressive people in chat if they were coaches. Some who'd be a little bit more conservative like me. I don't know. I thought it was dumb, but you know what? It worked out. We got BJ Cheek coming in, resubbing as well. Let's go, Cheek. Sure we can. W resub 8 months. W's. We appreciate you. Okay. Jovan, let's get back to business here. You want to go ahead and go over the Sharp Report recap from yesterday? Good work on your straight bets. Jeesh. Wow.
Yeah. Could be better PrizePicks squares, but
yeah,
at least you're getting those. Those are all free on the book.
Maybe
we'll even it up.
Hang in the rafters.
Yeah, the Bolts was, yes. Arguably my greatest wager of the NHL season.
Yeah.
Probably was.
Yeah. Has to be.
I think overall yesterday. Shout out hockey.
That over as well on the ice came through, like you just said. W's. Team total for the Packers came through as well.
Beautifuls.
Yeah. Great play.
I would have been. I was thinking to myself because which shout out that game. The Packers-Lions game that I said very much gave me Bucks-Falcons vibes, which both games were in the 30s and ended on a walk-off score. So I feel like that was pretty similar. But I was thinking during that whole Lions drive, I would be so big brain if they went in and scored a touchdown right now to backdoor cover. But I'm glad I didn't have to sweat the very end of that game and some potential bullshit and just take the team total and points.
Just take the team total and move. Great call, great angle. Not going to sit here and celebrate that one PrizePicks square that we hit since we did go 1-3, but you might want to hang that one on the rafters too.
That one was also a fantastic square. Shit day on PrizePicks, but you had your, greatest square of the year. What did that hit with 5 minutes into the game? Obviously the kneel downs and stuff were a possibility, but yeah, he was running like Ma.
Second offensive play for the Packers, 8-yard run. Yep. I came with the receipts. Great play. Great play.
Unbelievable.
All right, let's find some more squares like that today because the other ones weren't cutting it. We'll lock back in. We got squares for tonight. We got squares for college football Saturday tonight. We got squares for NFL Sunday as well. We got a ton to go over for this weekend and for plays for tonight, guys. So stick with us. We got to stay locked. A lot of tempo and pace today. All right, and if you missed TMA earlier this morning with Rav and Mikey, you can always go back and rewatch that on the YouTube as well. W Mike getting the morning started with TMA. Make sure you guys are subbed on the YouTube as well at Bookit Sports if you're not already. Okay? Dubs. Laporta is free. Yep. Dubs. Big Rob said that cashed my 3-piece. Let's fucking go, boys. Yes, follow the TMA Twitter accounts. Follow the TMA Twitter accounts if you have not already. All right? If you have not already, make sure you guys follow that. WYA lads in chat. All right? All right, let's move on to some winners for today. We got to power through them because I definitely want to focus a lot on the weekend too, Jovan. Some great games, obviously college football mainly, and then NFL, a tricky slate, but we got to go over it. So let's start out with some winners for tonight. All right, I got a nasty money line parlay that I want to get started out with here. Stick with me, okay, because it starts out with Duquesne on the ML, which after Penn State came through yesterday is a potential fake sharp POD. That cashed. Am I a little bit concerned with Duquesne today? Seeing all the plays on my feed? Sure, I am. But I cannot ignore this line. I mean, Duquesne at home as well over the last decade or so has been an absolute wagon. I know they have a new coach. I know they have a new team. They've really struggled so far this season, but the odds makers still believe. And if they can still believe, and they're smarter than us, I can still believe. Okay, and I think Duquesne gets a win. Maybe they don't cover this game. Maybe they win by a handful, but they're winning this game. They might not cover, but I'll take them on the ML, and I'll pair them with Jacksonville State in college football. I don't see them losing. Okay, they're playing a team who I believe they just played last week in Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky pulled out that win. So Jacksonville State coming in off a loss. Besides that loss last week, they've been on absolute fire, and I think they stay on fire, and they bounce back. They didn't want to win that game last week. They want to win this game tonight, the Conference USA Championship. They get it done. Take them on the ML with Duquesne. It's like a plus 150 two-piece. Thoughts on those two teams getting it done on the ML?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. There's a couple, obviously, like rematch narratives as far as college football goes. That's the one that I'm kind of a little more willing to lean into with that Jax State game. So I'm in on that. Definitely, you're a little more tapped into what Duquesne's got going on the court than I am. So I will fully trust you on that. I think that's not a bad money line parlay, as disgusting as it looks with those two teams on the cover.
It's plus chicken.
Yeah.
See how it plays. I didn't want to lay either one on the spread, so I said, fuck it. I'll put them together in a money line parlay. We'll see how it goes. All right. Krabs, you see what Haj Malik just said about Boise? I did not read out. What did he say? Let me know in the chat. Okay. All right. Let's move. Let's groove. People are talking about the line moving in that UNLV game. Well, let's talk about that UNLV game. And Rito, let me know what he said. I would love to know. I'm taking UNLV. And Jovan, I think you can get behind this as well. I think you're going to talk about this too. Look, UNLV, Boise, we kind of figured this would be the matchup, before the season, and now we're here and we got it. And these teams have already played once this season, Jovan. Remember that game? I think that was the Rav streak team total over game, potentially.
It was.
I think it was. And Boise won that game. And I can't tell you the last time UNLV has beaten Boise. I think it was like literally in the 80s. It's been decades since the Rebels have beaten Boise State. I'm not saying they win this game outright tonight, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do. Looking at PrizePicks, it's not looking like Madsen or Jeanty. It's not looking like their squares are absolutely absurd more than they've been. I mean, obviously Jeanty squares are insane every week, but it's not like they're even crazier than they have been. They're about where they have been, and Madsen's got a passing touchdown square up there that makes me think he goes less than that number. And the total's dropping down this game. I thought about maybe getting cute, taking an under, but I don't know if that's the move in this game. I don't know if there's going to be a lick of defense played. And if UNLV wants to win this game, I feel like they might need some points as well. So I'll back Haj Malik and co, Ricky White, and UNLV, the Rebels, to get some revenge after already losing to Boise once this year. Tough to beat a team twice. I think they get it done on the road and at least keep it within field goal or 4.5 points.
Yeah, I'm in on that. Spoiler, we'll definitely have that on mine too. So I guess we can talk about that a little more when we get there, but tell me about Northwestern.
Yeah. And looks like we got a Rito Nug in chat. This is what Haj Malik said about Boise. I've never been to Boise. I don't know where it is on a map. Why would you even say that? Why would you say those words out loud? There's nothing positive that comes from saying shit like that. Still sticking with UNLV, but I hate that shit. And then college basketball, one more play here. Bring it full circle. Late night college basketball play, cannot ignore this line. Northwestern typically sharp, whether it's fake or real, getting some line respect, especially, at home. And they're playing an Illinois team who's coming in off a massive win against Arkansas. We cashed on them in that game, actually, or at least I did. They've won 3 games in a row. They've won 4 of their last 5. They've covered their last 2. Illinois looking like one of the better teams in the country. Not so fast, though. They got a tough matchup on the road tonight, Jovan, against Northwestern, who's been pretty competitive in their last couple games. They beat UNLV by 5. They covered in that game, and then they went on to cover against Iowa on the road. They lost by 1 in a very close, high-scoring affair. I think Northwestern at home in this game tonight bounces back. They get a cover. They keep it within a 3-pointer in this one, or maybe even win outright and hand Illinois a loss, who comes in fat, happy, and complacent after that big-time win against Arkansas. Massive letdown spot here. Let's fade Illinois after a couple big wins, and let's back Northwestern as a sharp dog here at home.
Very in. That's I don't know. It's I would say pretty obviously like the standalone sharp play on the board, but those have been printing lately. Obviously, like Penn State is the prime example of that yesterday, when that was the, I guess, declared fake sharp play of the day and people took Purdue. But I'm in. I'm going to take this. It's going to slide under the radar.
Yeah. Do not let this get swept, chats. I know there's a lot of good college football on tonight, this weekend. It's a pretty good looking play, if I could say so myself, on the college basketball slate. All right. We got Trip MLB coming in, resubbing for 5 months. Let's go, Trip. Sure we can. He's excited about BTL Friday. Easy Puck coming in, giving out a subby as well to EDC Badger. Badger, if you're in chat, you just got blessed up by Easy Puck. Drop some dubs. All right. Let's move. Let's groove. Who wants to lay with Illinois on the road? Well, looking at the splits and turning the brain off, I'd say that's probably the first thing that comes to mind when you look at that game. 19th ranked team, 6-1, as a short favorite against Northwestern, who nobody thinks is good. It's definitely the square angle there and square play. See how it goes, though. They still got to play the game. All right. Jovan, what are you cooking up for straight bets tonight?
Well, I'll start taking you straight back to UNLV. If anybody knows anything about conference championships, these games that tend to be on Friday, something to shake up the playoff picture, I feel like happens every year. Last year, it happened to be the Oregon-Washington game, which I think a lot of us, myself included, thought that was Oregon's get back to get their way back into the playoff picture, and God knows that was not it. Washington came out and dominated and ended up finding themselves in the college football playoff and the national championship too, even though they fell flat in that. This one is obviously a little different. Now, the group of 5 auto bid is a part of the fold, and this seems to be the game with outside of SMU, the only like real in and out ramifications of the CFP this weekend. I haven't heard a single scenario or a single possibility talked about UNLV being in the playoff, which is kind of funny because everybody just kind of assumes that Boise State's going to be in there. And the reality of the situation is the team that played Jeanty the best and held them to his lowest yards per carry of the season was this UNLV team. And frankly, a game they should have won in Las Vegas. And the spread in that game was 4.5. And we're seeing the same exact spread when UNLV is going on the road to Boise in the cold. So no adjustment, no respect for Boise at home, which I thought was pretty interesting, especially with everybody kind of assuming that they're already punched their ticket to the playoff. I don't think it's that easy. I think not only was I pretty impressed of how they defended Jeanty in that game, and I don't think that was any sort of mistake. UNLV defense is porous as like the secondary can be at times. The defensive line and the front 7 has actually played a lot better than expected. I think that, again, that was no accident, and I expect them to be as good as they can or as good as anybody's been against Jeanty so far this season. But they're going up in the cold. You kind of just assume they're not going to have like a crazy passing game. The go-go offenses, a weird offense, I guess, to have up there in those conditions in Boise on the road, especially. But when you have Malik Williams, who is dynamic through the air, sure, but obviously dynamic on the ground as well, adds an extra element. And I think that was not to bring it up, Krabs, but the Malik under rushing yards game or less than rushing yards game, which truthfully, after that first big run, they did a pretty good job at containing him because they weren't designing much for him. They were just kind of saying, go out there and sling it. I feel like this game, they come in with a much better plan to get him loose on the ground, especially being that it ain't going to be hot up there. Not going to be warm. You're not in a dome, whatever. But I like what their offense is going to do. I think it's probably going to be a little slower game to open, kind of like that first game was, but I think they get it done. And UNLV makes a little noise in the CFB. I think they might win this one and find their way in.
Yeah, get those legs loose, Haj Malik. You're going to need him tonight. You're going to need to be running like a crazy person out there. That's our only chance.
Yeah.
60.5 rushing yards. I know he's coming off 100 piece against Nevada. It's still a very high number for a QB.
Pretty high.
60.5. He's going to need to run in the cold tonight. Straight up. It's not going to be as much Ricky White. Not going to be as much go-go. That's okay. This offense is dynamic. They can make it work.
Yeah,
right?
Or maybe not, because everybody in the chat's saying, boy, you already won. So
okay.
Maybe you just hang it up and forget about it.
I'll trust Barry Odom and UNLV. And although the go-go offense does not have, a great weather situation going on tonight, they'll be effective enough in the pass game, and they will rely on their rushing attack in this one. Okay. Tell me about that over in Jax State and Western Kentucky. What do you like about points in that game?
Yeah, so pretty interesting one because, like you mentioned, when you're talking about this game in the Bozo Pack, brother, this game that they played last week was 19-17, and super odd game because, like, that game, you expect offense with these two teams. The total in that game was 62.5. So now you get a little 4-point adjustment for how low scoring that game was. But when you look at the game, there were a lot of weird, all the scoring drives. I was looking at it, all the scoring drives were super quick. Not that there are very many of them in comparison to what you would have thought in that game, but all of them were super quick. There were some back-breaking penalties and drives, weird turnovers, just super weird drop passes and plays. If you watched that game and you had the over, you would have been in shambles thinking, how the hell did this get, or how did this end up with 36 points compared to the 30 more that you needed essentially to go over. But now I think you get that. And obviously there's the little revenge angle for Jacksonville State, who I think they were the subject of a lot of those fluke plays in this game, a lot of the explosive plays that they dropped, had called back, yada, yada, yada. I think they tear this Western Kentucky defense up and make Western Kentucky play from behind, which when Western Kentucky has to play from behind, that's when they open it up with Veltkamp a lot more than the way they do when they're playing from ahead. When they're playing from the head, they've gotten really conservative in conference play and just kind of keep the ball on the ground or just keep Veltkamp throwing short passes to kind of milk your way down for a drive. So I do think Jacksonville State gets up early, and this kind of helps, open the game up quite a bit. So I think this is the game tonight where we have the other two games that might be a little sleepier, especially being that they're on the road in the cold. I think this is the game we see some offense today. So I'm taking this over.
Sign me up. I'm in. People in chat are talking about the QB situation going on with Jacksonville State. Looking at the spreads and the total, I'd be willing to guess that he probably plays Tyler Huff. But if he doesn't, and it Smothers has some experience.
Yeah, I was going to say, because both of those guys have plenty of experience. It's not like you're taking a freshman backup quarterback who's never played a game to do your job. Both of those guys have been in there plenty, so I don't really care too much about which quarterback it is. Yep. Honestly, probably one's damn near as good as the other too.
Yeah, a little bit of a different QB. Smothers more of a runner. Huff, he can run as well. He does, but I'd say he's a little bit of a better thrower. But looking at the spread and the total, I do think Huff will play. I'm not hearing or seeing anything much different either. So it's kind of a win-win. He plays. We like the handicap here anyways. If he doesn't and the spread stays around here, they're 3.5, 4, and it's Smothers, I probably like him even more, to be honest with you. Points. I like points as well. Like the over. This should be a shootout. I know it's not the greatest game of the weekend matchup-wise, but it might be score-wise. Wouldn't be shocked. Wouldn't be shocked.
I agree.
All right, cut the shit. Let's go back to college basketball. You got a nasty dog down there. Let's talk about
nasty dog. I don't know. Probably going to be decently popular, I would think, looking at West Virginia, because they've been sitting on the shelf for about a week now after they were in Atlantis and just took down Arizona. And I know Arizona's kind of, I don't even know what they are this season. They've lost to some better teams. They've lost some games. Frankly, they should have, including that one, or shouldn't have, including that one. But you're getting them to come back at home, and you're playing a Georgetown team who, I guess they've been good so far this season, somewhat, but they really haven't been playing anybody, especially for the last handful of weeks. But this is more just a take on West Virginia. I think West Virginia is better than some people thought, and I thought it was good to take advantage of that. And I don't know, the games like the Gonzaga game, the game like the Arizona game, but now I kind of think it's going to start going the other way. I like that team. I like, obviously, the DeVries connection there. He's been fantastic, but when I don't want to say gets shut down, but when they make him take tough twos, that offense starts to become very stoic. And I'll tell you who's probably going to be seeing a lot of him today, who's had his fair share, I know it's a different system, but fair share of playing the Big 12 and is a really damn good on-ball defender, our guy Micah Peavy. And he has been the guy to be the Pat Bev to be put on a lot of these players. You know, TCU did the same thing, but Georgetown has done that to start the year. So not that I think he shuts down DeVries, but I think he's going to do a damn good job making life tough on him. So that when that becomes a thing, like all of these games that West Virginia's look really, really good in and their offense has flowed and it really hasn't been a struggle in the half court, is when they have a smaller defender on DeVries and he can really do whatever he wants. Just like that Arizona game. They really didn't have anybody to put on him. They switched a bunch of different bodies on him. He didn't make a single two, but he took 8 threes, and that was the entirety of his scoring for that game. So I think West Virginia's going to struggle a little bit today. And Georgetown, I'm kind of buying into a little bit too, because Micah Peavy's been fantastic on both sides of the ball, but they also have scorers in Epps and Mack that I think are going to give West Virginia's defense a lot of trouble, because as odd as you can say the personnel is, I guess, for Georgetown, West Virginia doesn't have really any on-ball defenders either. So I think it's going to be probably a good bit of scoring in this game, but I'm kind of selling West Virginia at maybe their highest point of the season when they come back home after a week.
I like the play. I do. I'm looking at Tucker DeVries' PrizePicks square at 14 points. I'm assuming that didn't open up at 14. Typically, these open up at, half numbers. And if I had to guess, I'd say that probably got bumped down from 14.5 and probably not bumped up from only a low 13.5, considering he's coming off a 26 piece.
You know what I've noticed lately? Because you have, I don't know, maybe this is just a thing for the start of the season, but usually they open guys right at their average or just about, and his average is 14.9. So I would assume he was at 14 and a half or 15. So yeah, he's probably got bumped out a little bit.
I like that. Let's put your guy Micah Peavy on him. And honestly, that's probably the best chance they have. Eliminate Tucker and let the rest of the Mountaineers try to beat you. Best chance you have.
Yeah, I mean, he had literally more points than that, almost double the points from that, just from the 3-point line against Arizona in the last game.
Okay. Yeah, let's sell high. I'm in. Back Georgetown on the spreads. Maybe even get involved with that Tucker DeVries, less than 14 points. Okay. All right. Speaking of PrizePicks squares, you want to talk about some for tonight? We got on the Sharp Report? All right. I got a couple that I like. Bryson Daly, less than fantasy score. Bless his heart. I love this Army team. What a great story they've been so far this season. And they've been on the come up. Their program has the last couple of years. Their coach deserves all the credits. It's no fluke. I know they've had luck on their side this season. They've been better than usual. Bryson Daly, obviously, typically a better QB than Army usually has. But this is no fluke. This is a good program that maybe isn't usually going to go 11-1, but they deserve it. They really do, and they have a really good coach. But tonight, they're going to be in a really bad spot against this Tulane squad and Coach Sumrall, who knows how to stop the option. He knows how to stop the run. A defensive-minded coach that I'm just absolutely in love with, to be honest with you, in the move. Once he came over here to Tulane, that's kind of why I was so high on them preseason on the pod, saying they have a chance to maybe even sneak into the college football playoffs. Big fan of Sumrall from Troy. Love what he's doing over there at Tulane. And in his 3 games against the option in his career, he's given up a combined 9 points in those games. I'm not saying Bryson Daly is, it's not like Navy where they throw the ball literally once or twice a game. It's a little bit more than that now. Bryson can throw it, and I think he's going to have to throw it a lot more today, which is not a great thing for that Army team, to be completely honest with you. Maybe he gets lucky, finds a receiver down the field when they're not expecting it. Tulane at one point in this game. I honestly don't mind Bryson Daly's passing yards today. If you're going to take a more than for him, that's probably the way to do it. But the reason I love this fantasy score so much, number one, I think he throws at least 1 pick, maybe 2, when he starts stressing the second half of this game and they're down and they're trying to climb back into it and they're forced to throw a little bit more than they have to. Number 2, his rushing yards is lower than it should be. And I think he's going to be stunted on the ground in this game, and they're going to make him beat him through the air. Summerall's defenses do that every time they face the option and face a good rushing attack. I'm fading Bryson Daly. His fantasy score is this low for a reason. Although it's a high fantasy score for a QB, for him it's low because all the rushing yards he gets. I think Tulane does a great job of slowing him down. I love the under in the game. And as much as I hate to do it, I'm fading Army's QB and taking Bryson Daly's less than fantasy score.
I don't hate it. I do have my questions about the Tulane, option thing, or the Summerall option thing, because I think I saw some people in TMA chat talking about that, like how they already have the script because they played Navy, but they played Navy without Horvath. So I wondered if I don't know what the other 2 times that Summerall's played him, but I wonder what the scenarios were in that one. But I don't know. I don't like points in this game either, and not that you need multiple touchdowns for this, but I could very well see it happening.
It's got a very popular touchdown square up on the board.
Yeah, kind of figured.
Most popular of the day, actually. 1.5 rushing receiving touchdown theme, and it's extremely green.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. Maybe he's just Jalen Hurts, and he just cashes every week. I'm willing to see and put some coins on it and try to fact. See how it goes. Nasty wide receivers or running back square for receiving yards here. Jovan, curious on your thoughts. I know we're on UNLV. You like this? Good. I know we're on UNLV. I know in the chilly cold, everybody's expecting Jeanty to get the ball 500 times for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. I don't know, man. I feel like UNLV is probably going to sell out against the run in this one and make Madsen beat him through the air. That's what I would do if I was coach. And I'm looking at Jeanty's squares. They're certainly reminding me of Mr. Saquon Barkley, who we've taken a couple times receiving this season in the NFL, a workhorse back who's setting records, absolute beast on the ground, carrying the offense. But then you look over at the receiving yard squares up for Mr. Jeanty, and you see a weird Reds 13.5 receiving yards. This guy has not been a main factor in the receiving game so far this season or recently, but tonight he will be. Looking at this square, this gives me great vibes, gives me Saquon Barkley vibes, NFL comp. I think Jeanty is going to be more effective in the receiving game than people are expecting tonight. I'm sure he'll get his on the ground. I'm sure he'll get 150 yards. They're going to give him the ball plenty of times, but expect him to be a little bit more effective in the receiving game when people least expect it tonight.
Yeah, I've been on that. He's had 9 yards the last 3 weeks combined with 2 catches and straight bagel last week. And granted, they're playing Oregon State. So, Oregon State, Wyoming, San Jose State, even though a couple of those games were close at times, didn't really need to really get too cute. Just run the ball down their throat against the team that's done the best job defending Ashton Jeanty so far this season and force them into throwing him the ball in that game too. You're probably going to need to do that, which is
and you
why
think
I'm in.
Second time around, maybe Boise has a couple different looks on offense as well, tries a couple things different, and maybe that involves Jeanty in the receiving game.
Probably
give him some different looks. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's hear your squares. Very, very excited. Curious to hear what you're crafting up over there. And I absolutely love that first square. Let's hear it.
Yeah. Has to be done. Army, it's going to be chilly as hell. And I love a couple things about this. First, you have Tulane going up there to West Point. Chilly, cold, wind, surely. And they're a team from the South going up there. The same thing happened with UTSA, which I was actually willing to buy into last week, and they covered. Didn't win the game outright, but I love that Army just saw an explosive offense in UTSA. Definitely built a little differently because they like to sling the ball through the air a lot more than Tulane, even though Tulane, they kind of got forced to like a couple weeks when they're getting punked by Memphis last week. But they want to run the ball. I think this is going to be a lot of Mekhi Hughes. I think Mensa's probably going to use his legs a little bit too. I know he has a pretty low rushing square up, but odd square to be up, I would say. I don't think they're going to have much success through the air. I think Army has done a great job, granted against some much worse offenses all throughout the year, but they've been really good in the secondary, really good in the pass game. I think that's a sticking point, and I think in this game, if Tulane's going to want to beat them, partially because of the cold conditions up there, you got a team from the South, team from Louisiana going up there to the cold and the wind, they're going to need to use a lot of Mekhi Hughes. I feel like that's the way this game plays out, win or lose for them. I don't see Mensa having much success against this Army secondary. So give me Mensa. I'm fading them. Then I'm taking Trae Young. Hate it, but I have to do it. Trent's out here saying nothing's worse than people putting coin on Trae Young. I get it, but I still have to do it. He has a couple weird squares up on the board. Obviously, like I wake up, brush teeth, and look at the 3-point category and see what I can take there. And he's up there for something that's definitely a little weird too. After he was shooting absolute tour dates last game against the Bucks, which is one of the most, probably one of the best matchups you can get as a guard, period. And he shot 0 for 9 from 3, 6 from 19 from the field. Now you get to turn around and you get to play the Lakers. What do you know about when you play the Lakers? Most of the time it's in LA, but your stars come out to shine against the Lakers. Defensively, they've been a train wreck as of lately, and JJ Redick's been getting a lot of heat for it. They're talking about busting basic coverages. They can't get anything down. There's a lot of miscommunication across the court. Who better to dissect that than Trae Young, regardless of whether you're shooting toward eights or not? You know he's going to get to the rim. You know he's going to get to the free throw line. You know he's going to rack up his assists, which I think is pretty important in this game as well. This feels like a perfect Trae Young spot. I know people have said that a handful of times when he's been a very popular Twitter play multiple times over the past week. I think this is finally the spot. I'll be the guy to jump in on this one and say Trae Young is busting.
Well, if you take a peep at his charts, which, by the way, got bumped up a yard, love to see that. Yeah, red is mine. Red is mine. And bumped up to 32.5. So, yeah, if you're into nasty squares that nobody likes and everybody hates its guts and thinks it's dead before the game even starts, this is a square for you. And this is a square for me. I'm in.
Has to be done.
Yep. I like our squares today. I like our chances. I know it has not been our best week for PrizePicks squares, but maybe we can get some green back. Hopefully go 4-0 today. You know, I'll be locking in the Sharp Report format. See how it goes. All right. Yeah. Dubs. 2 solid plays. Love the Mensa look. And Trae Young. I mean, yeah, you're talking to the right person here with an angle like that. I'm in. Okay. All right, guys. W Sharp Reports. You guys got any questions for the games tonight? If not, we could start talking about some winners for the weekend, and then we could circle back to the squad ride and some questions and plays for Friday night's action. Okay? You guys in for that? Maybe we take a stroll over to college football weekend preview. I'm down. I got some plays that I like, Jovan. You want to talk about them?
Sure. I'm down. Maybe go no intro.
Yeah, we can just get right into it. That plays.
Cool.
Let's take a peep. We'll get right into the snooze fest here, folks. We'll talk about some college football, some plays for tonight, some plays for the weekend. We did have to overlap at times. Not the most loaded college football slate, obviously, not that many games. So for the college football weekend preview, we do have Friday plays on there for tonight. So don't be confused. But we got plenty of action, plenty of plays that we love. I'll get it started out with an under in Tulane and Army. Looking at your Mensa square, looking at my daily square, we should be in a good spot here, Jovan. Total's down about 3 points since when it opened up. And I do think Tulane's defense wins this game. Like I talked about earlier with Coach Summerall. I don't care if it's square. I'm leaning into it, and I want to fade Army. Although, yes, people in chat are saying I haven't seen a single Army ticket. You're right. Yeah. You're right. I agree. But it's still Army, a team that's overperformed immensely so far this season, so that cancels out a little bit too. And this team that was in against the spread wagon for the first half of the season has kind of fallen off, and the books are kind of hip to Army. People like betting them in general, maybe not today in this spot, but Army has only covered 1 game in their last 5. I think that trend kind of continues here. I lean Tulane, but I like the under a little bit better with it dropping this much. And looking at the PrizePicks squares, especially for Mensa and for Bryson Daly, who I'm fading, great sign. Seeing how low some of these guys' squares are for tonight. I think this is going to be a low-scoring slugfest. You're going to see Army try to run the ball in the beginning. It's probably not going to work. They're going to have to shift to the passing game. But by that point, they're probably already going to be down, 7 to 10 points. And then Tulane's probably going to shift to the rushing attack, feed the ball to their running back a bunch of times in the second half of this game and try to end it, run the clock out. Maybe Army creeps back into it late. But either way, I'm not seeing more than 20 points from each team in this contest. And the PrizePicks board backs me as well. I think we get a nasty under between Tulane and Army. Maybe it's square. I don't care. I'm taking it.
Yep. I'm in on that. You know how I feel about that game. I honestly think Army might be in control of the game early, and then Tulane kind of grinds it out towards the end, hopefully with a lot of Mikey Hughes, not a lot of Mensa. It's kind of how I see it going, and maybe they cover, maybe they don't. But
that's what Tulane's done a lot this season, where they get out to a slow start, they creep back into games. I think it was against Oklahoma. Was that one of the teams, big squads they played earlier on this year, where they got out to a bad, deficit and they kind of crept back into it, made it a ball game? That is typically what Tulane does. Maybe not what I'm expecting today, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it plays out. Wouldn't be surprised.
For sure.
What about this under in Ohio versus Ohio? Tell me about it.
I know this will be probably something you touch on a little bit. These two teams built on defense, and Miami, Ohio especially. This is the team who's been here before, done that. I think I kind of like them to win this game, and I think they're going to win it with their defense. I think Brett Gabbert, at first when they played earlier in the season, game at 50 points. It was a weird situation because Ohio put in the other quarterback. I forget his name, along with Parker Navarro. So it was like a weird in and out system. I don't know if there was an injury involved in that, but it was odd. And then Brett Gabbert kind of took advantage of that, like more towards the end of the third quarter in that second half, and started to run up the score a little bit. Ohio kind of crept back in the end of the game and made it a little closer than the actual game was. In this game, I feel like it's going to be super cagey to open. They did do a good job defending the pass, like initially Ohio did against Brett Gabbert. So I think they're going to make Miami, Ohio keep the ball on the ground quite a bit. And then, Parker Navarro loves to use his legs too. I know you'll talk about his fantasy score. Not that I think he's going to do incredibly much in this game, but I feel like they have to control clock in this game, keep the ball out of Gabbert's hands, which they did so well in the first half of the first game. Even though I do still like Miami, Ohio to win the game. Like I said, I think they're going to win this with defense. So I'm taking this under. Didn't love too many unders this week, but
okay,
went with this one.
I think you picked the right one. Again, even if this one's square, which I don't think it's as square as, it might seem at first rip, when Ohio's coming off of 42 points in an absolute legacy game offensively. Miami of Ohio coming in off of 28 points. A pretty good offensive performance against Bowling Green as well. Let's sell high on these offenses in a rivalry game. These two teams play each other every year. They hate each other's fucking guts. We saw the first game this season when these guys played, went over as well. They scored 50 points in that one. That game was fucking hectic. Total's very low in this one compared to, the last games both teams are coming off of. And that first matchup this season, great sign for the under in the rematch. And I think defenses prevail here. That's what these programs are built on, like you're saying anyways. And I'll lean into that Miami of Ohio defense and the Red Hot Bobcats defense as well.
Sure.
I'm in. Talk about that one more a little bit in a couple slides. For now, let's move. Let's talk about some overs. Now, this over probably is square, and I really don't care. And it's up to 50. I'm seeing points in this one. I think this is going to be a classic shootout. Great game. Must-see TV. I don't know who's fucking winning. I lean Georgia in this game. I don't know if I'm going to get to the counter. I don't know if Georgia's experience and line respect here cancels out me wanting to take them with how fraudulent they've been this season and all their fraudulent wins coming off that Georgia Tech game too. I don't know what I want to do with the side, so instead I'll back some points. The one thing that worries me about this is the Carson Beck passing touchdown square, so I'll go ahead and get ahead of that one. It's nasty, but Georgia's got a lot of ways to score. Maybe they feed the ball to the running backs and they punch it in after Carson Beck, throws a bunch of yards and gets them down there into the red zone. I wouldn't be shocked. I still see points in this game, and I do think Georgia has an edge, but Texas has plenty of ammo on offense to, counter and score as well. So I'm seeing points in this game. I thought the total was a little bit high, up from 48.5 to 50 now. Great sign as well. And I think the offense keeps rolling for Georgia. I know that's kind of a square angle, but Texas, people like their defense. This is the best team, best offense that they've probably seen all season, to be honest with you. I think they're going to have their hands full. The Longhorns in this spot. I lean Georgia, but I like the over and points better. I think this game lives up to the hype on ABC, 4 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, makes you feel any better about that touchdown square. Carson Beck, I don't think he had 175 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks in that first game that they also still won by 15, which was hilarious.
Yep. Absurd.
So he didn't even have to play well for Texas to hand them that game. So
yep.
I honestly might lean into that square a little bit, but I went with the Big Ten over, which kind of cool that this is one of the first times in a handful of years that I guess like the Big Ten championship is a somewhat watchable game. So I feel like every year it's like undefeated Ohio State or Michigan against like Iowa or Northwestern or some bullshit. This year, it's actually watchable, more than watchable. I think it's going to be arguably the best game of the weekend, most entertaining game of the weekend. And there's overlap here. Spoiler, I'm also going to have Penn State up here, and I think they win this game. But it's a fun spot for Penn State, I think, because this is the rare time that this is a big game for Penn State, but it doesn't have like season-ending ramifications because it's always like the Ohio State midseason. Like you got to try and win that game or else you're kind of dead. And especially with the 14 playoff in past years, this year they could get away with it, of course. But then you play Michigan, and yeah, it's always a big game. But like this is a big game when you truly have like no pressure on. Sure, you want to knock down like a hosting spot, which I think they could still do with a loss. I'm not in the committee, but I'm pretty sure that would be something possible. But now's your chance to bring out all the stops. In my eyes, it's a win-win for Penn State. You lose, you lost to the number 1 team. You're still probably hosting a playoff game. You win, you get a bye, and you're still hosting a playoff game. And frankly, I think Oregon going into the playoff, not that they're going to try and lose this game, obviously, but Oregon going to the playoff undefeated, death wish this year, especially. Being the only flawless team, death wish. Now I feel like this is the game where Kotal Nicky brings out all the stops. I feel like they already do the Wildcat with Tyler Warren. I think they're going to bring out every trick play in the book. I think they're going to bring out every chance for explosives in the book. And I think this Oregon defense is going to get exposed in this game. And who knows if that comes with them winning the game or not, because obviously Oregon can strike back at any point. But I think this is going to be a back-and-forth game with a lot of points this weekend. This gives me, I don't know, vibes of one of the best championship games that we're going to see on Saturday, tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Could definitely lean into the Penn State scoring on Oregon angle 100%. I'd rather probably play Penn State as a side here and just bank on that Oregon L.
Yeah, these are like the only two between the Penn State Oregon, just because there's overlap, and that's kind of how we had to do this. Like, I like the Penn State over, and I like Penn State in the game. It's the two bets I haven't placed yet because, like, I still want to probably pick one or maybe meet in the middle with the team total. But same reasoning for both of them.
Okay. All right. Points. 2 square overs, but you know what? I don't give a shit. We're at the point of the season. You got to trust. I love it. I love both those angles. I'm in. And I think Penn State wins. I think both these dogs will be barking. At least one of these 2 dogs went outright. See how it goes. All right. Let's pivot. You want to talk about some blowouts, some favorites, some teams we think who are laying some points, take care of business. Wow. Did not expect to see SMU up there. Curious to hear that one. Let me get out there real quick with a Marshall fade. This one shouldn't take long. Spreads up 2 points from the opener for absolutely no fucking reason whatsoever. Marshall might be the greatest team on earth. Put them in the college football playoffs. If anybody deserves it, it's them. Unbelievable season from the Thundering Herd. Their coach has been talking so much shit. He deserves it because he's about to get canned. I didn't think he was a great coach. He proved me wrong. He probably saw some of my fucking tweets. I've been so impressed with this Marshall team, and they have come through, covered, and won in damn near every single sharp spot this season. Well, we got one more chance to fade them, Jovan, and I'm going to do it. I'm back in the Raging Cajuns, laying 5, 5.5, depends on where you're looking, to hand Marshall their first loss in a minute. Okay, these teams have not played this season, but I like the way the Cajuns have finished the season. They won and covered 4 of their last 5. Marshall has been even better, one of the best teams against the spread. I think they've only lost 1 game against the spread so far this season. Talk about a spot you want to fade them. And why are we seeing the spread moving towards the Raging Cajuns here a couple points when all the bets are on Marshall? Public dog of the weekend in college football. I will fade one more time. I didn't hear no bell. I think this is where you see Marshall finally crumble and you get that loss that they're so due for, and the Raging Cajuns win big in this spot. Massive regression, letdown spot here for Marshall. As great of a story as it is, the party's over this weekend. In Lafayette as well, I'll take the Raging Cajuns.
Yeah, I don't really love really any favorite on the college football board this weekend, except the one you're talking about. So that'll be on a later segment. So I'm with you. Okay. I got one more Marshall fade in me. But the other favorite I just have to take out of principle, because I've been religiously doing this the last couple weeks, is SMU. And I've been fading. Last week it happened to be Notre Dame, but the team that everybody wants to lose and the team that's in a very obvious spot to do so. This is the only game on Saturday, obviously the only one in a power conference that has any sort of ramifications for the college football playoff, who gets in, who gets out. SMU should be in with a loss. They're probably not going to be because the patch that's on their jersey, the name that's on their helmet compared to Alabama or any of the SEC teams. But they need a Clemson win, or would like a Clemson win just to shake shit up. I don't think it's going to happen. And truthfully, I think Clemson, as much as I kind of wanted to buy in, because like I was decently high on them to start the season. I thought we were going to see them return to the playoff and them being in the position that SMU is going to be in. I don't think they're all there. And I think this is, especially with them kind of at a de facto home game in Charlotte, kind of going to have the fan base behind them, of course. Seems like a semi-obvious spot to kind of go after them. And I don't think this is going to be a blowout by any means, like the category kind of leans into. But I do think defensively they've been really, really good. But they've had a problem all season with running quarterbacks. And Kevin Jennings, we saw what Lenore Sellers did to them last week, busted off a couple huge runs. And I do think their secondary is going to give Kevin Jennings a little bit of trouble. It's definitely the toughest secondary they've faced in a handful of weeks. So I do think both with Kevin Jennings and Brashard Smith in the ground game, I think the ground game is going to be a lot better than people are going to give it credit for on first glance against Clemson. So I think the run game is going to be a massive part of this game. They've done good or done a lot better than they did at the start of the year, kind of getting it together and being respectable on the ground, not just because they're blowing teams out, not just because they're playing bad run defenses, but I do think that they're going to put it together and have a complete performance in this game. Everybody wants SMU to lose. Everybody thinks they're the fraud team that's going to be left out of the playoff. I'll bet against it, and I'll take them. Weird spot.
I'm worried about a Maffa legacy game here for Clemson. We haven't had one in a while. He honestly did not have as great of a season as I expected. He didn't have a bad season, but not as great as I expected. I'd take Tootin over him right now after the season they both had. But I would not be shocked if Maffa goes off and carries his team. I think that's the best chance Clemson has. This game also makes my brain hurt because you got the perennial wagon Clemson who's always in this shit. It's kind of like the same spot with Georgia too, where I can't decide if I want to play the sharp line or if they're sharp because they get the respect from what they've done in the past and not what's going on right now. So kind of puts me in a tough spot. Maybe I'll end up pivoting and just staying off this game, but I wouldn't say I lean the Mustangs with you. But I don't know if I'm confident enough to make an argument with Clemson. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. And although I don't love that SMU came into my ACC and went undefeated, wouldn't that be a great story? I mean, it'd be unbelievable. It'd be unbelievable. So if that happens, I would not be upset. Fuck Clemson.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean, you got pretty much all new teams in the Power Five. I mean, they're all favorites. Somebody's got to be the ones to go down. I don't know if it's going to be SMU though.
Yeah, we'll see. This game makes my brain hurt. Okay. Let's pivot. Let's go talk about some dogs. Let's see what dogs we think are going to be barking this weekend in college football. Upset alerts, sure. Love Penn State as well, Jovan W's. Iowa State, the Cyclones have to be bets. Rav, I apologize. It's not personal, okay? It's just business, and I like to make money. Arizona State comes into this conference championship on absolute fuego. Hats off to coach. I mean, just absolutely turning that program around when nobody expected it, and alumni as well. Great story too, but I'm not here to bet on great stories. Okay, I'm here to make money. I'm here to fade great stories if that's the case, if that's what we got to do. And unfortunately, in this spot at noon tomorrow, it's taking the Cyclones and fading the great story in Arizona State. Okay, we're taking the Cyclones here. To be honest, this is one of the spots that I had circled correctly preseason. I had this team winning this conference in my shitty bracket that also involved the Hokies. I've been on the Cyclones all season. Except for the couple times we faded them in recent weeks. But I'm taking Iowa State here. I'm legally obligated to fade Arizona State, who's 10-2 against the spread, and back this Cyclones team that I'm absolutely in love with, looking like the sharp side as well. I'm taking the points. Probably don't need them. I think they win this game on the ML, but I'm taking the Cyclones, and I'm fading the hottest team in college football.
Yeah, I'm with you, just for the sake of not duplicating the same play, because we already have one of those, I think, for the NFL. Didn't put him up here, but I'm right there with you. I'm taking him this game. It's just every time, same thing, like even myself included. Whenever Iowa State's in a game that nobody wants them to win, nobody thinks they can win, this is exactly the time when Matt Campbell does it. And I feel like this, coming off their first 10-win season, I believe in school history, is where they get it done. The whole Jalen Tyson thing is a little scary, I guess, to be maybe buying good news in that. But the thing is, Iowa State's run defense has been really bad this season. Without your top option on the outside and the fact that Scadabo's playing, I don't think they're going to shut him down, but they're going to load the box and make Sam Levitt beat them, which is cool against, Arizona and Cincinnati and all those other teams that they've had the pleasure of playing in the Big 12, but they haven't played a majority of the top of the conference. Iowa State has. They're much more battle tested, and I think they got to play Arizona State's schedule. The roles will probably be flipped in this game. So I would love to see Arizona State win. Scadabo would be awesome to see in the playoff. I just don't think we're there. I think this is, unfortunately, Iowa State. So that's my fill-in for the Penn State sell job, because I kind of already gave that with the over. But I think they win the game. Pressure's off. James Franklin, big game, but this time you can just throw shit at the wall because you're playing Oregon. Still going to be in the playoff either way.
It's a win-win for Oregon. You win this game and you're actually him. You're the best team in college football by far, no questions asked. Or if you lose, you get that loss out of the way before the games that actually fucking matter in the playoffs coming up. Rare win-win. Shout out Oregon for putting themselves in that spot, going undefeated. Okay?
Yeah.
Love fading teams in that spot, by the way. Love it. I'll be on Penn State with you. Let's move on to our favorite plays of the weekend. Meat on tape. Sure. And by the way, I think I might even like Iowa State better than this under. It's close.
Okay.
I'd say they're both up there 1A, 1B, but I really do like this under. It's just not fun, and it's maybe even a little bit square, but how the offenses have done in Ohio and Miami of Ohio the last couple games, I don't know how square it is. And I know you already talked about this one, so we're going to move. But I love this sharp total in a rivalry game between Ohio and Miami of Ohio with that total drop. Absolutely obsessed with it. Grab it now before the total gets any lower.
Yeah, I'm in on that. Then you already talked about ULL. This would be the first game that if you're betting against them on the road, they only have one loss ATS so far this season period, but they took trips up there to Blacksburg. They took trips up to the Shoe at Ohio State. This will be the first game that they do not cover on the road if this happens to be the case, which is crazy to say. It's like you add that on the fact that, I don't know if I've seen a team with 2 flukier wins in a row than their last 2, which I know we were in piss with JMU, and I think we also took ODU, or you took OU, or we had them in the late or some shit the last week before that. But crazy turnovers, crazy games, overtimes, muffed punts, crazy interceptions, pick sixes. You can't make it up what's happened the last couple of weeks. Well, now you got to face ULL, who's going to make you put it in the air probably a little more than you want to because their run defense has been fantastic. Obviously, they like to use their run game, not only with the running backs, but also with Braxton at the quarterback too. Don't think it's going to be nearly as successful. There's a reason why they've continued to move up from 4.5 up to 5 and 5.5 now. I think this is where the Cinderella story comes to an end, which tends to be the case from a lot of these conference championship games, even though hurts to say, cough, cough, I don't know, TCU is one of the examples that comes to my mind, unfortunately. So maybe that goes to maybe that's more pro Iowa State than anything, but you get the point. I think ULL rolls. Okay.
Raging Cajuns has to be done. Love it. Love both these plays. We got plenty of ammo for college football, not only tonight, chat, but also tomorrow. All right, don't let these plays get swept. We are going to power through these PrizePicks squares.
I saw
for college football this weekend.
On this, apparently, they met with him a million times throughout the season. He declined an extension every single time.
Yeah, he was pissed because they were about to fire him before the season. He's out.
And
he's done.
Then they did it again, right before this game. And they're like, "Fuck it, that was last straw."
He is out of there. He hates that
done.
school. He's only there for the players and to collect his paycheck and to prove them wrong. Yes, it's like
now
that.
Now it's official that he's out, which is crazy. So
I didn't know that. But
I do like that.
Sign me up, and that could have something to do with the spread there as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's do PrizePicks squares really quick here. Mine will not take long. Sam Levitt, you mentioned this angle a little bit, or this game earlier, Jovan. You said, let's sell out against Scatterbo, Iowa State, right? And let's make Levitt beat you. Well, have you looked at his rushing yard square? Because it's one of the weirdest squares up for college football this weekend. Extremely red. They're putting this up like he's Lamar Jackson. The guy barely runs, at least of late. But if you watch him play, if you know this kid, you know he is relatively a dual threat QB. He just hasn't been that way the majority of the season, or at least, the second half of the season. Well, when he's running like a chicken with his head cut off in this game, when that Iowa State D-line is breathing down his neck, he's certainly going to be rushing and having some more attempts this weekend. And I'll take his more than rushing yards. I don't like Arizona State. I don't like their offense, but back in the square, it doesn't mean I like their offense. If anything, it's that I like Iowa State's D-line to step up, actually come through, sell out against the run, make Sam Levitt beat you. And that might mean some runs and some scrambles, running for his life. And then Parker Navarro, I know this is still a high fantasy score, but with how he's been playing recently, he carries that team. He's like the entire offense, in my opinion. It's kind of low, in my opinion. And I'll take the less than here in a game I love the under in. Fading Parker Navarro, who's carried this Ohio defense or offense so far this season, facing this Miami team for the second time. Good fucking luck. I'll take my chances with Miami of Ohio's defense here, standing on business, and I'll fade Parker Navarro, looking like one of the free more than squares on PrizePicks. I'll take the less than.
Can get down with that. Love the under in that game, right with you, obviously. Good. So I'm down. I went with my ASU square, Xavier Guillory, who somebody's got to be the guy. I think everybody just kind of assumes Scatterbo is going to run for 500 yards. And not that I completely disagree that he's not going to get his numbers or whatever, but I think Iowa State's going to make them put the ball in the air quite a bit more. Obviously, with Tyson out, Jordan Tyson, they're going to have somebody kind of fill the role. I think Guillory is going to have to be the guy because Iowa State, they have been a little vulnerable down the field. And Guillory is more, or at least he's been so far this season, more of a down the field guy. And we'll see how his role kind of changes with no Tyson. But he's not like the biggest volume guy. He's more the downfield shot guy. Iowa State, big play has been an issue for them a little bit, more towards the start of the season, but even towards the back half of the season, they've been a little vulnerable in that area. So I do think if Leavitt's forced to throw the ball a little more, I think Guillory is kind of the guy that I'm going to pick in that instance. So over on ASU players, but they lose the game. I don't know if you know this, my man, but if teams are losing, they tend to throw the ball. And they're also missing their best wide receiver. So you're getting kind of lower lines on everybody. And quarterbacks also run the ball when they're down. And we don't think it's going to be a 7-3 type game. So yes, we think they lose the game, but we're taking squares. And you're muted.
Sell out against Scatterbow. Make Sam Levitt beat you. Whether that's running, whether that's finding Xavier Guillory, either one will play. Okay. Maybe both. Shit.
Maybe both. Yeah.
All right. Tell me about this Wisner square.
Yeah. Wisner, he's been sneakily, like from watching Texas the last couple of weeks, both obviously against A&M and against Kentucky, best player on the field. I don't think it was even close, both of those games. Ridiculous performances. So when I see this square get bumped down almost 20 yards from when it first opened, after 186 yards last week, he was gashing Texas A&M in the run game. And yeah, like they were down pretty much half the defense by the time we got into the second half of that game. But regardless, he was fucking fantastic. He was great in that game. He was the only reason that Texas was able to close that game against Kentucky too, because they were letting Kentucky hanging around for a little bit. The defense obviously hung them in there for both games, but he's been like their closer. He's been their get tough yards guy. When they've gotten any sort of offense or closed out any of these games, he's been fantastic. Like I said, 186 against Texas A&M last week, 156 against Kentucky right before that. And granted, that was on 59 carries, but he's been their workhorse guy. I think regardless of if Texas wins this game or if Georgia wins this game, I think regardless, the script is going to have to be Quinn Ewers ripping the ball. I think we'll also see a lot more of Arch too, which is a separate conversation, but I think when they need tougher yards inside, they're going to use Arch a couple more times than they did against Texas A&M too. But I think if you're Texas, you're going to sling the ball. That's kind of the script that I see happening against this Georgia defense. Obviously, they haven't been great against the run, but something about the blocking scheme, they mentioned it. A couple of the D-line mentioned it. D-lineman for Georgia mentioned it after that game. They said their blocking scheme was easy to pick up. Kind of back that up because I know Wisner's kind of gotten going really since that game, but he had 15 for 52 in that game. He was not particularly effective. Neither was Quinn Ewers. And can guarantee you going into this game, Georgia's going to say, let's sell out on Wisner because Quinn Ewers hasn't been able to beat anybody for the entirety of the season, but especially like since that game. He's been, frankly, the reason that they have not been blowing out teams. So make Quinn Ewers beat you. And not that I don't think he can do that because I think this could be a rare time where he actually does have a couple explosive plays through the air, but I don't think it's going to be Wisner. Neither do the books, opening this at 120 damn near, and it's down to 104.5, which is crazy.
Yep. 207 yards rushing receiving against A&M, 150 against Kentucky, and this number's dropping 20 yards. Interesting. Yeah, make Quinn beat you when he's hurt, right? And like you said, maybe he does. Maybe it's Georgia's year to finally lose. Maybe it's Texas's year.
I hope
if that's
so.
the case, though, it's not going to be because of Wisner, and it's not going to be because this game goes under and it's a defensive masterclass. Somebody's got to do something. Maybe Quinn does step up. This game makes my brain hurt as it comes to his side, but I could certainly get behind fading Wisner on the ground. Looking at that bump, looking at that chart, hearing your sell job, sign me up.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
And
okay. All right. W's. Let's get to the NFL. Let's power through these NFL plays, Jovan. And get to the squad right here. Chat, stick with us. All right, we got to have extra tempo and pace here going through these plays. I like the under. I don't like a lot of unders in the NFL this weekend. I like the under, though, in the Chargers and the Chiefs game. Maybe it's square. Again, don't really care. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs win this game again. And the Chargers are a public dog when it comes to kickoff time, Sunday Night Football. But I want to fade the Chargers offense here against the Chiefs defense that I still think is, going to carry this Chiefs team into the playoffs once we get to that time. And I want to fade Mahomes and back this Chargers defense that I think is much improved this season under Harbaugh. And they've played pretty darn well overall, the last couple of weeks. I know they gave up 30 to the Ravens, but, that was against Coach's brother. I give him a pass there. Besides that, The defense has been pretty fucking good. There's a couple squares up there that make me think Mahomes is not going to have a great day. He's got a pass and touchdown square up there that I don't want to fade, but I certainly don't want to take the more than. He's got a pick square up there. I wouldn't be shocked if he throws a pick. Herbert also has that pick square up there once again. And I wouldn't be shocked if, maybe the Chiefs force a turnover, hopefully in the red zone for the Chargers, and prevent some points there. So a lot of ways for this game to go under. And even with no Dobbins for the Chargers, they still got Gus Bus. I think both teams, Pacheco as well, you're going to see the Chiefs try to get him more involved as he continues to get more healthy. Run the ball, take away the mistakes from your QBs. And I want to back these two defenses that I still think are undervalued in the market, although that total is dropping from 44.5 to 43.
Sure, I can get down with that. I like this under in the Jets-Miami game, which I have such a weird feeling about this game because you would think it would be kind of an obvious bounce-back spot for the Dolphins. I assume that's going to be relatively popular, especially with them being at home, playing a Jets team that's dead. And I don't know if you watched any of that Jets game or anybody did last week. Fluke play after fluke play after fluke play, kickoff return, crazy pick six by a defensive lineman for 90 yards. Every possible way you could get the easiest scoring drives of all time, you were getting it. I don't think that's going to happen. And I'm also the person who, in pretty much every one of my leagues, I'm running Dolphin stacks. A lot of them happen to include Jonnu Smith, and some of them include A-Chains. Like, I've been riding out the Dolphins for quite a bit. The offense has gotten rolling. For whatever reason, my gut is telling me they might not be incredibly smooth in this game. They're weird. Like, the Jets defense has not been good. Like, they've been pretty poor against the run, but the secondary, I think, is an odd matchup for the Dolphins. And I do think they're going to kind of umbrella everything over the top. So it's going to be a lot of A-Chain, I think, too, a lot of Mostert, a lot of ground game. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be nearly as explosive. So I like this under. It helps that it's a divisional game, too, that I think is going to get a little weird.
Totals on the way down as well.
Yeah.
I like the play. It's not my favorite play we're about to go over for you, but I like it, and I love the sell job. Back of my mind, still think Aaron Rodgers hasn't heard no bell, and there will be a game the rest of the season where the Jets put up a 35-40 piece on offense for no reason. Maybe it's against the Dolphins, whose defense has been weirdly good recently. Kind of what kept me off of backing an under in this game, or maybe even fading the Jets. I'd say gun to my head in GTA, I'd probably bet the Jets on the spread here. But I wouldn't mind that under as well from you. Good sell job. Let's move. Some overs. Somebody call Mike. Tell him to tail these two puppies. And I have a square over here too. I don't really give a shit. Maybe it's not that square with how bad Kirk Cousins and this Falcons offense has been, honestly. But the Vikings offense is taking care of business. They're 10-2. And guys, I thought about getting cute here and backing the Falcons on the spread. I still definitely lean that way. But I like the over and points better in this game. I think Kirk Cousins against his former team, revenge game narrative. Sure, I'll lean into it. I'll back him to do well and show up. And I think Sam Darnold on the other end shows up as well. His PrizePicks squares make it seem like he's going to do his job and then some this weekend for the Vikings. Totals on the way up. Splits look okay. I know it's public, but some bigger bets being dropped on this over, including mine, which is going to be placed very soon on this over before the total gets any higher. It is on the way up, and I'm seeing right now in the blue book, it's even up to 46.5 out of nowhere. I just saw that for the first time. I'm pissed. I'll have to bet it somewhere else. That's okay. Get this over in responsibly, chat, before it gets any higher.
Yeah, I'm in. Wow, big Jets news. Maybe not great for, I guess I could cancel out for that under, but Breece Hall and Sauce might not be playing.
Damn.
The Jets might be, I feel like they're just
packing up shop.
I feel like they might find a way, dude, in that game to make it weird.
I'll tell you what, one of the two teams between the Jets or the Giants are winning outright this weekend. You heard it here first.
Much more with you on your dog and the Giants, but I like this nasty over. And again, this is another probably gut play in this Bears 49ers game. Both games which frankly, I know the Bears game snuck under somehow, some way. They blew it at the end, obviously, with a chance to send it to overtime. Crazy play calling, crazy situation. I think they're going to score points. Caleb Williams is going to air it out against this defense that's so shorthanded. So now they get their chance to kind of go out there and take care of business, put a real, complete performance together. I'm hoping the play calling will be better. I'm hoping the game is going to be managed better. But I feel like this is just let it all out there for Caleb Williams game, kind of out on the West Coast. So I like that angle of it, of course, but you also have on the other side a 49ers team that's been pitiful over the past couple weeks. I think they've scored 10, 10, and 17 over like their last 3 losses where they've been really, really bad. Their game also snuck under somehow, some way in the snow last week. I feel like they're just going to run the rock, dude, with Isaac Guerrero, who I do think is really good. You always have that one game where the backup running back for the 49ers comes in and has a legacy game. Jordan Mason's done it before. Like anybody who has their opportunities done it before. The Bears defense, run defense has not been good over the past couple weeks. I feel like this is where Guerrero comes in, and he definitely makes some fantasy owners pretty happy. So after both of these teams had sneak under for I really don't know how really either of those games ended up going under last week. They'll find a way to go over this week. And I feel like Caleb Williams and the Bears offense opens up a little bit. I feel like there will probably also be a defensive score in this game, probably off the arm of one of these quarterbacks.
I didn't hear a single word you said after you mentioned Isaac Guerrero. Let me ask you this. I need to win in my dynasty league so bad this week, Jovan. I'm in the playoffs first week, and I got Guerrero sitting on my taxi squad. Is he getting the call or what? Am I pulling him up or what?
What are your options?
Oh, man. I didn't think I was going to do it. I didn't think I was going to need to make the call. But after that, I might need to. And I like the 49ers in this game as well. I mean, it's a, keeper league, Jovan. So weird roster builds. But I have Guerrero, who's projected 11. I have him. I'm between him and Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, Jacoby Myers.
Ooh.
Those are some guys I could put him in for.
I don't know if I want to recommend starting him over any of those guys, Krabs.
What about James Conner?
I don't know if I can get with that one either. I don't know. You have a lot of solid options. I don't know.
I got a good team. Guerrero, keep your ass in the taxi squad where you belong. We don't need you yet, but you're probably going to carry this offense anyways.
Yeah. The problem is, like, with a lot of the times with the Niners, like RBs, like they're carries and yards merchants. I just don't know how I feel about him actually getting in the end zone, because I feel like that's where the Brock Purdy's going to come in and do some shit with his arm. So, like, if I felt a little better about him actually getting in the end zone, I would much rather prefer that.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll keep him on the taxi squad, and then we can take him on PrizePicks, or we can bet on this over. And that way, if I keep him there, we're in a good spot, because then he's definitely going to go off. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next segment here. Next category of plays. I believe it is either favorites or dogs.
Favorites.
Take a peek.
Keep this one short because it's the same one, and it's also on Monday.
Yep. Bengals take care of business. They finally get a win, and after the Cowboys get 2 in a row, we're fading the living shit out of them, and Joe Burrow might be getting all of his anger out from all the bullshit this season in this game against a extremely bad, embarrassing Cowboys defense. What the fuck did you expect, Jerry? What did you expect when you bring in the old Vikings coach to be your DC? What the fuck are you doing, man? You've lost it. That team stinks. Coming off of 2 wins, we're fading them and back in the Bengals. Fuck them.
Yeah, has to happen.
Yep.
Your stars in big cities on primetime. Welcome, Jamar Chase. We'll move.
Let's keep it going here. Let's talk about our upsets. And yes, I did hint at the Giants earlier, chats. And I would not be surprised if they win this game outright out of fucking nowhere. I also like the over in this game as well. I do think Derek Carr and the Saints counter and score some points. It's not going to be Kamara. It's going to be Derek Carr. I don't mind him as a fantasy pickup if you're looking for a QB. But I like points in this game, and I like the Giants to keep it close. And I think they might even win this game. It's been a while. And Dable, look, I know they're probably tanking, but you also got to look at the side of him trying to keep his job here. They're so due for a win. The Saints are so overrated. We saw them finally drop a game after 2 straight wins. I think we fade them again here. We back the G-Men at home, getting some points in a sharp spot. Who the fuck wants to back Drew Lock and co? Well, I'm looking at Drew Lock and I'm looking at Tracy on PrizePicks. It looks like they're about to have pretty darn good days. Give me the over. Give me the G-Men. They keep it within a field goal.
Yeah, I'm in on that. I'll be on that with you. Taking Jameis. After I've been pretty spot on with the Steelers the last handful of weeks. So I'm praying that it continues in this week. Talk about, I guess, not an obvious bounce back spot because like the Steelers won last week, but bounce back spot in terms of they just played the Browns. Browns just beat them in the snow. No chance the Browns hang in this game again, right? I think they do.
There's a chance.
I think there's a chance, and I think they damn do. I think Jameis is the perfect guy, especially now that you're not in the snow, to go up there and sling it on this defense. Because realistically, like, a lot of teams are bad against the Steelers defense. A lot of offenses are bad against the Steelers defense because they play scared a lot of the time. Like Jameis, you open it up, you send it over the top of their heads. Not many teams can do that. Not many players can do that. When you do, that's when you open them up a little bit more. Cough, cough, what Joe Burrow had to do against that defense last week. Jameis is going to open it up. I don't think they're going to have the same offensive performance that they had last week in that bonkers game, or earlier this week actually, against the Broncos. But I think Jameis comes through when nobody wants to take him. I can only assume that the Steelers are going to be one of the more popular late pieces of the week, if not the most popular, against a half decent team. I think Jameis goes in and maybe pulls off the upset again.
Wouldn't that be something? Son of a gun. I don't think Jameis' story is finished yet. Right? No. Whatever fucking book is being written right now about him and the ups and downs, I don't think it's done yet. I don't think we're at the end of that book yet. Would not be shocked. Love the angle, love the play. We'll talk about a couple more angles I have in this game once we get to the PrizePicks squares. Okay?
Sure.
Meat on tape. Somebody say our favorite NFL plays of the weekend. Wow, did not expect the Cardinals on there. Excited to hear that sell job. I could be convinced. Let's start out with the Rams here. I want to fade the Bills. And guys, by the way, the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year, but they're not going to win this game against the Rams on the road. Those are two things that can both be true, even though they're kind of contradicting. The Bills are on fire right now. They're 10-2. My goodness, Josh Allen, have a year, my man. Lock the fuck in. You get a dietitian, you get your new girl, you're engaged. Life is good. 10-2. Luck's finally going your way on the field as well a little bit. Nobody deserves it more. No team deserves it more. Fan base deserves it more. With all that being said, we're fading the fuck out of them this weekend. We're back in the Rams. We're back in Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Puka, and co. to keep up with this Bills offense. When's the last time the Bills had a scare in a game? To be honest with you, it's been forever. When's the last time they've been in a one-possession game? Weeks, months maybe. This team has not had a scare yet, and they're going on the roads in a warm environment, warm and toasty in that dome out there in L.A., and I'll take my chances with Matt Stafford, Sean McVay, and co. The Rams have not heard no bell. They're making moves, signing guys like Emmanuel Forbes. Surely that helps, right? But clearly they're not giving up on the season yet. I think it's the Rams. They keep it within a field goal. Wouldn't be shocked if they win this game outright.
Yeah, I could be down with that. Definitely be taking some offense-related stuff in this game. I think there's points. Maybe that's a square over the week, but it's probably coming with the Rams offense. And the Cardinals. I couldn't help myself, Krabs, because I love the Seahawks. Seahawks are like my adopted team that I'm rooting for, both for bets purposes, but also just because I feel like they're a cool kind of underdog story with Geno, and now they're the new face in the NFC West, and you still got the Cardinals who are kind of looming too. Seahawks have won a handful of games in a row, I believe 3 in a row, including that super fluky win on the road against the Jets where Geno led a touchdown drive at the end to win the game. The Cardinals, not only were they victim to the Mike McDonald defense that they saw in that 16-6 game 2 weeks ago where they got absolutely shut down, especially in the red zone. But they just lost that game against the Vikings on the road where they had absolutely no business losing that game. The Vikings, I know Trent is in here, and he was splooging in that game. The Vikings had no business winning that game. The Cardinals were the better team for every single second of that game. Fluke shit happened at the end. They lost the game. Now you're coming back home in that warm, toasty dome that I assume is going to be closed. You get your lick back on the Seahawks because as much as I love the McDonald defense, they did a great job at bottling up, everything on the outside. Trey McBride had a field day in that game. I think that's going to continue. James Conner is going to get fed more in this game against a run defense that, frankly, is a little overrated at this point and hasn't been very good. He's going to get fed. They're going to get their lick back. This is where the Cardinals win the game. It's probably going to be on some last-second bullshit because that's been the story for damn near every Cardinals game that's of some importance, which is why I'm taking the ML instead of 2.5 just in case. But they're winning this game.
Well, I'm sold. I will be tailing this play, and I had no desire to do that. I honestly probably even leaned Seattle before hearing that and looking more at this game. I mean, I can't tell you the last time the Cardinals have even beaten the Seahawks.
Oh, I can tell you because I was looking.
Years.
Had it up. They beat them 6 in a row. Last time was right before Thanksgiving in 2021. You're eating turkey 3 years ago. Last time the Cardinals had a win over the Seahawks.
Rancid ass turkey, bro.
Rancid
1,000
turkey.
days ago.
Literally great moss turkey.
Gross. Yeah. love these two plays. They're both smacking shit. Even keep the points at the door for the Rams. I think they upset the Bills if you're feeling lucky this weekend, responsibly. Okay, chat? And I'll certainly be tailing the Cardinals after that sell job. We got Pat Burke, too, coming in, resubbing. Packers got robbed. Yeah, but they did cover. Good teams win, great teams cover. W. Pat for the subby. DJ Lean coming in, resubbing as well. Love to see it. We appreciate you, gents. Let's keep the tempo and pace crispy. All right, I hit up Trent. He said we can go 10 minutes late. W's Trent. We appreciate you, Beast. And stick around for the surge stream right after this as well. And pitch Trent a winner, please, for today, whether it's college football for tonight, college basketball, NBA, NHL, whatever it is, as long as it's green. Bring the energy, bring the winners for the surge stream right after this. Okay, a couple other things. Coin toss is out on YouTube, Bookit Sports. If you're not watching the coin toss, if you have not checked out the coin toss yet, you guys are killing it with that show down there. Check out the coin toss. It dropped yesterday. Check it out for the college football plays for this weekend. All right, it's on YouTube. Maybe somebody in chat, somebody loyal can drop the link to that puppy. And there it is, W. Aries. Go check out the YouTube. Go drop a like on that video for me, please. Okay? All right, Jovan, we got some NFL PrizePicks squares to quickly go over.
Yeah, 1 second. I had to close it and reopen it.
You're good. We'll go over these PrizePicks squares. Okay, for the NFL, we'll do the squad rides.
Thanks.
And then we'll wrap this puppy up and we'll hand off the baton to Trent for the search stream. Okay, I'll rapid fire these two pups. I'm sure you could at least get behind the second one I'm about to go over, but let's start with Kirk. I know I went over Kirk and took his square last week. I'm going back to the well here in a revenge narrative. The guy hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in over a month. Well, maybe a matchup against his former team could get the juices flowing and get some of that prime vintage Kirk out to play on Sunday this weekend. So I'm backing Kirk to carry in a game where I love the over. I love the Falcons to maybe even win, but at least cover that spread back and forth. And look, I wouldn't mind a passing yards combo between Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins. Also, if you're not just all into the Falcons or Kirk this weekend, keep that back pocket too. I do think this is going to be a shootout back and forth, both teams scoring, but I'm isolating Kirk here and I'm taking his fantasy score. I'm not seeing a pick against his former team. And I think he carries and throws 2 passing touchdowns. And it's not going to be the Bijan show, who's only minus 110 to score a touchdown. I thought it'd be way juicier on the books, to be honest with you. And then Russell Wilson, less than 1.5 passing touchdowns after maybe his best performance of his career. Probably not, but at least his best performance in recent history. We're fading Russ. We're fading the Steelers. Jovan, you already sold the Browns. I think this game goes under. That's also a sneaky play we didn't talk about. After both teams come in off of a ton of points, that total is dropping and it's low. I think Russ struggles against that Browns defense in a divisional game, and I'm fading Russ, taking his 1.5 passing touchdowns less than.
Sure. I'm in. My 2 squares, I couldn't help myself. I know Jakobi Meyers has had a couple really good games in a row.
Wow.
You're facing Todd Bowles' defense that is 99% predominantly zone. They play super far off coverage, and contrary to what you might think, the best receiver or the best pass catcher on that team against that coverage is not Brock Bowers. It's Jakobi Meyers by a pretty decent landslide. So regardless of how that game turns out, I feel like this is a pretty sleepy game for the Bucs, a game where they feel pretty comfortable. They're, again, for the 3rd straight week, like 6.5 point favorites. They're coming back home in a game they have no business losing. I don't know if they do, but at the very least, I think Aiden O'Connell in that offense is going to move the ball pretty well against that defense. And again, like they play super far, super soft zone coverage with all these cornerbacks. They feed Jakobi Meyers anytime they play that. And again, like not the couple times that they've faced that really hasn't even been against the Chiefs or the Broncos in the last couple weeks. But even before that, like in that Cincinnati game, they faced it plenty. And that's when he had 105 yards. Like that's, I think, more of what you're going to see. So I know he's been hot, probably going to be pretty popular once we get to Sunday, but couldn't help myself at square. I think he's going to feast. Then Brian Thomas, I don't know if you expected to see him on the card because
nope,
you got Mac Jones lacing him up. I think that game is it looks super weird to me because it's that divisional game where all of the injuries on the defensive side are piling up quite a bit, but the total's super low because it's Will Levis against Mac Jones, even though Will Levis has kind of been him lately, not talking about it. But I feel like that game on both sides is going to be a lot of Tony Pollard and then a lot of I think it's going to be Brian Thomas. Obviously, you have the Calvin Ridley return narrative or revenge narrative sandwiched in there, but Brian Thomas, I know Parker Washington's sneakily been like the Mac Jones guy, but Brian Thomas on the outside, I feel like he's breaking a couple big plays against this defense who, again, they're down a couple guys in the secondary. Mac Jones has taken some shots too at the beginning of the year or beginning of like his starting For Trevor Lawrence's injury, he wasn't really taking deep shots, but as he's gotten deeper and deeper through the season, through some of the injuries and in some of the games against the Texans, or that game against the Texans last week, he's been a lot more comfortable taking deep shots, finding Brian Thomas, developing chemistry. This is the week where nobody expects Brian Thomas to do anything in your fantasy lineups because Mac Jones is the quarterback. Would probably recommend you put him in there. So,
wow.
Give me Brian.
I'm going to be putting him in one of my leagues for Marvin Harrison, who I was already kind of looking to bench in a game where I think, like you said, Arizona relies a little bit more on James Conner. And I don't know if it's going to be a Marv game against that good secondary for Seattle. Maybe it's more of a rushing attack. Maybe I'll put in Brian Thomas there for Marv after Marv had a good week last week. Okay.
Yeah. I do think you were also a week early on the McTuddy.
Oh, nice. Okay. McBride gets his first receiving touchdown of the season this week.
Yeah. Sure. I think you're a week early. You might get it now.
Okay. I could so see it. All right. PrizePicks squares for NFL this weekend. Why don't we go ahead and bring this full circle, chat, and get to the squad ride here for today. Can we flash the Sharp Report one more time for the people? Give them a little reminder, Jovan. I don't know if you still have it or not. If you don't, I'll just read over the plays. Let me know.
Don't.
Yeah, I'll read over the plays. So I am on Duquesne ML and Jacksonville State ML, two-piece parlay. Okay, I'll read that again because that was probably confusing. Duquesne ML college basketball, Jacksonville State ML college football, two-piece. It pays around plus 150. I'm on UNLV plus 4.5, college football against Boise State. And I'm on Northwestern plus 3.5 tonight, college basketball. PrizePicks squares, Bryson Daly less than fantasy score for Army, and Ashton Jeanty more than 13.5 receiving yards for Boise State. Jovan, I'm looking at your squares right now. If you don't mind, I'll power through them. UNLV plus 4.5. Love that. Western Kentucky, Jacksonville State over 58.5. And we've got Georgetown plus 8.5 on the hardwood. Should be a good look. I'll be tailing that puppy with you. Mensa less than pass yards for Tulane tonight on PrizePicks. And Trey Young more than 32.5 points and assists. Sure.
Has to be
that
done.
should be a good look. I'm actually excited to put that one, lock that one in. I'm not kidding.
I'm so excited for it. I'm so. I want Trent. I want Trent to fade, dude. I want to spite Trent fade on the feed. I need that.
Oh man, Krabs, am I getting too cute? Fading Barkley, rush yards. Honestly, Money Talk Sports, and good to see you, by the way. Yes, I would not be fading him, chasing this rushing records. There's better ways and players to fade this weekend. Okay, let's stay off of the Saquon fades. You know how petty Sirianni is, and I wouldn't be surprised if Saquon's looking for that goal. Okay.
Well, right before you get to the squad ride, honorable play I wanted to bring up because I'm looking at this line and it actually just flipped Krabs, which I think is crazy. T-Wolves are favorites now.
You were talking about that one earlier.
Yeah, didn't
when they were
on the cards. We got football today, and it's also a little unsure if Steph's going to play, but I'm pretty sure he's playing. It's kind of lining up.
Maybe a little squad ride option. NBA,
an option.
T-Wolves on the road after Golden State outright win. I could be convinced. Jovan, you want to run the squad rides? We'll get this puppy up and moving.
Want to get that train going, Krabs?
Yeah, run that shit. I'm trying to see that train. All right, chat. You guys know the drill. W squad ride yesterday with Penn State in college basketball. Why don't we go ahead and fire up the squad rides for today? Jovan, are we putting in that NBA play? I guess is where we should start with now that we're here.
I mean, yeah.
I'm putting the T-Wolves in there. You loved them before, and now they flip to a fave. Sign me up.
Crazy. Of course.
Timberwolves ML. Get a little NBA on a Friday. Nobody expected that, huh? I'm looking at my plays. Would love to put in Northwestern. If you're good with that, I want to check the spreads. That might be my favorite play of the day today. College basketball, shocker. Yep. Even more than UNLV. As crazy as that is to say out loud. Yep. We'll go ahead and put that in there. Northwestern plus 3 now. Good. Fuck the CLV. I don't even want it. We'll put Northwestern in there plus 3. Jovan, I know I just said I like it better than UNLV, but that doesn't mean we can't put that in here as well. And I know you love that play too. Thoughts?
Yeah, I feel like you probably should.
Okay. UNLV plus 4.5. Check the Carfax. Yep. Good. Anything else we have to put on here? Any other plays, whether they're sharp report or just something we talked about that you fell in love with during BTL today? Let me know.
Dude, my plums are all over Georgetown.
Okay. Say no more. We'll put Georgetown in here.
I didn't remember what your thoughts were on that play, but
I'm telling you. I like it. I'm in. Give me G-Town. Let me check the spread. Plus 8.5. Sure, we can.
sure.
Georgetown plus 8.5. All right, chat. 4 plays, 4 winners. You got 2 minutes to lock in the squad rod votes. Hurry up. Go. Get involved. 4 plays, 4 winners. Okay.
Best play, not best game. Don't forget.
Yep. Best play, please. Best play. We can start a chant. Let me get your options up here, chat. 4 plays, 4 winners. Timberwolves ML, Northwestern plus 3, UNLV plus 4.5, and we've got Georgetown plus 8.5 on the hardwood. Sure we can. Chat, 4 plays, 4 winners. Get involved on a Friday afternoon. Trent, appreciate you letting us get a couple minutes here. Make sure you guys stick around for the surge stream. Pitch Trent a winner for tonight. All right, lock in. T-Wolves, Northwestern, UNLV, or Georgetown. Plenty of options, plenty of sports chat. Get involved. Don't just sit there. All right, you got 1 minute. Jovan, what are you voting for, my man? What is your favorite play in this poll?
Might give Georgetown a vote.
Wow, it's like that, huh?
It's just plums.
Okay. All right. I like Northwestern. I know that's probably not going to win today with all the other great sports going on, but I really do not want to let that play get swept, chat. Late night CBB. All right. But Georgetown also a great look. UNLV in second right now. The T-Wolves leading the poll. Anybody have a future on an NBA play to win the squad ride on a Friday afternoon at plus $1 million? If you do, you might want to hop in here. Get involved. T-Wolves or UNLV. And as soon as I say that, there it goes.
Yep.
It's the Rebels. They take the leads. Not surprised here, chat. You got about 10 more seconds before we close this puppy out. Let me remind you one more time, 2 things. Check out your Picket Wrapped on Picket if you haven't checked that out already. And if you don't even use Picket and you want to check out your Picket Wrapped, see how you did in 2024, you can still sync up your books. It'll track all your bets from this past year. It'll still give you a Picket Wrapped. Go check it out. Okay, and also please check out the coin toss this afternoon, right now. Later tonight, before the game start up on Saturday. Watch the coin toss on YouTube. Drop a like. Let us know what you think. And we got a tie.
What the fuck are we doing, man?
And we got a tie.
We got to be so much better.
Well, Goots made the call a couple of days ago. It hit. I made the call the other day. I think it hit. Or did it lose? It might have lost.
What was the call?
It doesn't matter. I think it's your turn to make the call. Was my point. What are you thinking? These are kind of your 2 plays.
Yeah, I guess they are my plays. It's half your play too if you UNLV.
What's the winner?
I've had gut on UNLV for the entire week since we recorded coin toss. We're sticking with UNLV. Collab.
It's the Rebels. All right. Me and Jovan both loved it. Came in with it on our sharp reports. Let's cash tonight. We'll fade the Broncos. Back UNLV on the road. Should be a good look. All right. UNLV plus 4.5 squad rides. We'll catch you guys on Monday. Go watch the coin toss. Stick around for the surge stream. We'll catch you guys same time, same place on Monday. We'll be.
We'll be.
Peace, guys.